Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Taylor, and today I am going to be giving you guys a full in-depth tour and honest review of my cheap $1,450 2003 Mini Cooper S. Let's get started. Here it is, the cheapest Mini Cooper in the country. It was the cheapest when I bought it, as far as I know, that was clean titled without any damage history or terrible rust. This is actually a pretty nice car for the money. And did need a clutch, so in my YouTube playlist for the 2003 Mini Cooper, you will see all kinds of work that I did to this car to get it where it is today. But for today, we will be taking it for a ride. I'll take you around the car, show you what's good about it, what isn't good about it, and then we'll go and take it for a cruise and see what you guys think. So starting off on the back of the car, ironically, this thing has parking sensors, and the rear bumper cover has been banged into on several occasions. So there's these spider web cracks in the paint. This side isn't too bad, but this side, when I bought the car, was actually caved in, and I had to heat it up with a blow dryer and push that dent out. Again, ironic that the parking sensors are here and somebody managed to plow something. And fortunately for me, my dad has been in the business of paintless dent repair for most of my entire life. So he actually went through this car for me and got out almost every little door ding. So this thing is just about as straight as an arrow. It's actually a pretty cool little car. I've never had a Mini Cooper before or any front wheel drive car, so it's been cool for what it is. So we'll get under the hood and show you the rest of that now. So here's where the magic happens, if you could call it magic. But this is the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder supercharged engine. This is the intercooler on top. This car came with this aftermarket K&N Typhoon intake. I polished these and then washed the car while the engine was warm, and they got a lot of hard water spots on them again, so I'll have to polish those out. But I cleaned the filter that was on here and cleaned the rest of the engine bay, and it really looks nice. I mean, hopefully you can tell on camera here, everything is just super clean. You could almost eat off of this. And this is a very good running car. One other thing that I did was the supercharger pulley, supercharger fluid, all that different stuff from my previous videos. And then just recently I bought this Kraven Speed dipstick because the factory dipstick in the car is fiberglass and they consistently break on almost every Mini Cooper. So this is like some metal cable thing that works pretty good for that dipstick housing. It was $70. That's the most expensive dipstick I've ever had to buy. But that's that. One other thing I forgot to mention, I did put 4 new spark plugs in this. They're a step colder to compensate for the higher boost levels from that smaller pulley I put on, and new axle shafts and gear oil as well. So mechanically, this car is 100% sound. So let's move on to the interior. So here's the inside of the car. It's kind of nice, you know. It is the fully loaded version, so it's got the Harman Kardon sound system, little tweeters, and it's a full leather interior. It's got heated seats, and this thing would essentially be perfect other than somebody smoked in it as a previous owner. So there's a cigarette burn in the floor here, a couple in the center by this, and then on the back seat, I don't even know how this would get here, there's another little hole from a cigarette burn. But all in all, pretty nice interior for the age of the car. Being a 2003, it's 15 years old. Get in here and give you some other ideas on what this is like. So the cool thing about these minis is that they actually have a lot of leg room. So I'm 6'1", almost 6'2", and I have plenty of room. I actually think I have the seat forward a little bit. So your passengers have a ton of leg room on a trip or something like that. Hopefully you can see down there. But with the seats all the way back, the rear seats are essentially useless. So keep that in mind if you're looking for one of these. Definitely not a car that you want to throw a car seat in or something like that. Other things, the cup holders are a bit minimal. I'd say that the drink of choice for R53 Mini Cooper people is probably a small Red Bull can. It's about all that'll fit in there, so I guess with the amount of Red Bull you'd have to drink, you'd be pretty excited about this car 24/7. One other cool thing to note about this car is the pedal set. They're pretty cool pedals. They're stainless around the side. I believe they're brushed stainless, and then they have the nice little rubber grips on there. So looks cool, kind of like a race car looking pedal set. So I'm going to be honest with you guys for a minute. According to Google, this car had a $25,000 or so MSRP, which for such a tiny car like this seems like a lot considering how cheap this interior is. It's really not the greatest quality, and being that it really is a BMW, I expected a little bit more out of it, but you know, there's just some things about the car that are just so cheap. Like if I go to turn the blinker on to turn right, the high beams come on because this thing is completely worn out. That's something I've never experienced in a car before. Other things, this little plastic toggles here, one is broken off. They're just really cheap plastic. Really a primarily plastic interior for this entire car, other than these leather seats, which was an upgrade. So in my honest opinion, BMW could have done a little bit better at the time given the MSRP for how tiny of a car this is, but I guess that's just me. It all works the way it should and is aged pretty well, so you can't complain about a 15-year-old car. Well, now that I've tried to do my best on giving a review of the quality of the car, let's get down to what really matters. Hear it run and go for a drive. Now, if that isn't the meanest thing you ever heard, I do not know what you've been up to. I'm kidding, but that's the stock exhaust on this car, and then that is the little blower whine when obviously it's got a smaller pulley on it in the intake. So I don't know how a purely stock car would sound, but it does have a good little blower whine. So we're gonna take this thing for a spin now, and I'll show you guys how this thing runs out. All right, let's go for it and see how it runs. You probably notice over here this check engine light's on, and I read the code on that, and as it turns out, there are some cracks along the outside O-ring of the gas cap that are leaking air that keep causing this to come on. So I'm just going to buy a new gas cap to get rid of that, but all in all, this car is mechanically perfectly sound. So let's take off. Now, one thing about this car that definitely is a little less streetable is the fact that I put a sprung 6-puck clutch disc in it. It's a Competition Clutches Stage 4 kit, and it was a single mass flywheel conversion. So the whole transmission is a little more chattery, and the clutch engagement is a little more difficult than stock. So I'll show you that here in a second. You definitely have to wind the car up to about 2,000 RPM to get a smooth takeoff out of it. Otherwise, it'll want to buck around. So that's one thing that's a bit different about this car than a purely stock car. So one really funny thing about this car is that the stereo system is actually incredible. I don't know if I've ever heard a car with a factory stereo system that is this good. This Harman Kardon sounds amazing. And anyways, I was going through the car cleaning it, and I hit the eject button on the radio, and I find this CD. It's called CD's Nuts, Dubstep, Dub Club, or something like that. And it is this most bizarre sounding music I have ever heard. So I can only imagine the character that drove this electric blue and white Mini Cooper around listening to this music. So I'll give you a demonstration real quick. I don't know what that was. That's pretty funny though. I figured you guys would get a kick out of that. We got a little bit of traffic here, so I'm gonna go up in the country a little bit and we'll do a couple of pulls in this thing. Another thing to note is that the car, you know, being 15 years old, it does have a couple little rattles and this and that, and I think the rear sway bar bushings are almost shot, so a couple of those rattles that you hear are those items, but we're gonna get ready to take off here in a second. I'll show you just how gnarly this thing is on an acceleration. So as you can see there, the car, it pulls pretty quick for what it is. I mean, honestly, for a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder to take off like that is pretty impressive. I mean, as you can see there, in second gear, we were doing over 50 miles an hour, which is breaking the law on pretty much any road around here. So it's pretty impressive. One thing that I'm sure all of these cars do, given that they're front wheel drive, is that they torque steer a lot. So hopefully you can see that input to the steering wheel as we are accelerating. The car really jerks you around, you know, when you're under a hard acceleration like that. So here's second. We're at a 30 roll right now. We'll see where we get going by the end of third gear. We actually got going pretty quick there. There's a little too many cars around here to be going much faster than that, so we short shifted a little on third there, but pretty quick. I mean, for such an economical, cheap car, it really does everything that it should, you know, very well. So I have no complaints about the performance of this car. I mean, the fuel economy is great. Right now it says 27 mpg. I had it out on the highway earlier, and honestly, doing 70 on flat ground, it reads 35 miles per gallon, which I think is phenomenal. It's the most economical car that I have ever owned. So, being that I got it for $1,450, you just can't beat this thing. And that's that, guys. A ride in the cheapest Mini Cooper ever. Well, guys, as you would imagine, I got the car for $1,450, and I did have to spend money on it to get it where it is. So all in, I've basically doubled my investment on it. So I'm into it about $2,800, which really is still below Blue Book value for what the car is. So I'm still in good shape. I did spend a lot of time and effort getting the car fixed, but that's just what you do when you want to screw around with stuff. I got this car on a whim just because I was curious about it, and it's turned out to be an awesome car. Now, the sad truth about all of this is that I'm actually a little bit burnt out on it now. I did so much work to it in such a little amount of time that I just kind of burnt myself out. So I have put the car on Craigslist locally, see if I can get my money back and funnel that into the next project for the channel. Given that winter is coming up, I'm thinking I might try to get an old Bronco, Blazer, something old Chevy, four-wheel drive to beat on in the winter so that I'm not driving my truck in the chemicals all winter long. One other project that you'll be seeing coming up very soon is this car right up here. A few episodes back, I showed you guys a bunch of performance products that I have for that car. So we will be pulling the motor out and throwing a whole new top end with camshaft in it. So stay tuned for that. I know this was your first proper tour and review of this Mini Cooper, but this may be the last time you see it on the channel. So if it is, say your goodbyes, and we will be on to a bigger and better project, always moving forward here on the channel. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up for me and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more automotive content like this. The winter's coming, and I will be working on many more projects, especially when the snow starts to fly, because there's nothing else to do when it snows. At least for me, I haven't gone snowboarding in years. I don't have a snowmobile, so this is the stuff I live for, working on these cars, and I'll be showing it all to you guys. So stay tuned, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next video.